Champions Mojo is part of the CG Sports Network.
Welcome to Champions Mojo, a podcast to bring out your inner champion. Your hosts are sisters-in-law Kelly Pallas and Maria Parker. Kelly is a former Division I head swim coach, Olympic trials qualifier, and holds national and world records in masters swimming. Maria holds world records in endurance cycling and won the world's toughest bike race, Race Across America. Both are certified health and life coaches. Our goal is to inspire you through conversations with champions. And now, your host, Kelly Pallas.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the Champions Mojo podcast, where today we are going to chat with one of the premier swim coaches in the world, Coach Greg Meehan. As usual, I am co-hosting with Maria Parker. Hello, Maria.
Hi, Kelly. How are you doing today?
I am so excited. I'm really excited. Coach Greg Meehan is the head coach of the Stanford Women's Swimming and Diving Program. He is a three-time NCAA Swimming Coach of the Year and has led Stanford to 3 consecutive national championships in 2017, 2018, and 2019. Coach Meehan has coached some of the greatest swimmers of all time, including Katie Ledecky, Simone Manuel, Maya Dorado, and Leah Neal. But first, Maria, can you tell us a little bit more about Coach Meehan's career?
Sure, Kelly. Prior to Stanford, Coach Meehan spent 5 seasons coaching with the Cal men's swimming and diving team. As an international coach, he was the assistant coach for Team USA at the 2016 Rio Summer Olympic Games. He was the head coach for Team USA women's swimming at the 2017 and 2019 FINA World Championships, and he will serve as the head coach for the women's swimming team in the 2021 Tokyo Summer Olympics.
Yes, Maria. So Coach Meehan is well known for his ability to coach athletes through adversity, which we find ourselves in today. So let's welcome Coach Meehan to the show. Welcome so much, Greg. We're so pleased to have you here.
Yes, welcome,
Thanks,
Greg.
Kelly. Thanks, Maria. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So, Coach, we want to start off the top of the show with this pandemic and really so much disappointment in the swimming community from little kids that listen to this that had their spring, championship meets canceled, to the NCAA swimmers who didn't get their senior year to finish out, or didn't shave and taper for their conference meet and didn't swim at NCAAs, to the postponement of Olympic trials, to even our non-swimming listeners who may have had their wedding postponed, or just me, an old master swimmer. I didn't get to swim in nationals this summer. So what are you advising your swimmers, and what words of wisdom can you give us to help us get through this time, and kind of what you're sharing with your swimmers to get through this?
It's a great question, Kelly. You touched on a couple of nerves there, because it's funny, you mentioned the wedding. My sister's postponed her wedding 3 different times.
How awful.
I think about our seniors this year having their careers cut short just before the NCAA championships, and they had an unbelievable career. They won all the dual meets they ever competed in. They won 4 years of Pac-12 championships, and they had won the NCAA championships their first 3 years, and they just kind of fell short of the opportunity to finish their career truly undefeated. And so, yeah, it's been, I think that initial phase in March with those cancellations, and then not too long after that with the postponement of Olympic trials and the Olympic Games was a really hard stretch. But things have somewhat stabilized, maybe not, nationally in terms of the news or politics, but certainly things have stabilized from a swimming perspective. And okay, we have a little bit of a better idea of what the day-to-day looks like, maybe what the next few months look like. It's a little difficult to sort of project beyond that, but we're really just trying to encourage everyone to take it one day at a time and to control the things that you actually have control over, which nowadays doesn't seem like a lot. So I think it's even more important that, hey, if there's these 2 or 3 things that you can, take control of and put your best foot forward, then that's what you have to do, because everything else is way outside of our control, from pandemic to sort of the political climate to everything. It's like, all right, let's just really simplify things, and let's put our best foot forward and see where that takes us.
Is that something that sort of the deal with what you can deal with, control what you can? That's something that you learned in your life early? Because I also read an article about how good you are, when your swimmers, for your swimmers and with your swimmers, when things aren't going as planned. So yeah, like we said in the intro, you're good at adversity. So how did you learn that? And is that something that's just something that goes with sport, or is that sort of your life experience?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely something that's come through, just through the sport. And swimming is not for the faint of heart, right? Nobody gets into swimming thinking that it's going to be an easy path. It's pretty easy up until you get to about 13 in terms of, hey, every time you race, you go best time, and this is easy, this is great. And then reality sets in, and you become a teenager, and things are harder. And then your opportunities to show actual tangible improvement on a scoreboard become so few and far between. I mean, you're peaking twice a year, maybe it's just once a year for some of our professional athletes. So you have to learn how to handle adversity. And I think one of the things that our program does well is we sort of embrace that idea and create opportunities for adversity within a training setting, whether it's through stuff we're doing in the water, whether it's things we're doing on dry land, whether it's cultural issues. But we try and sort of embrace those challenges, embrace adversity, and learn from that. And as you might imagine, the women that come into the program here at Stanford are fairly successful in everything that they've done to this point in their life. And they're coming in the door here at 17 or 18 years old. They've only had A's in their entire academic career. They're clearly swimming at a really high level to be able to earn a spot on our team, and they've never quote unquote failed. Right. And so, we create opportunities for them to fail right away.
How kind of you.
Yeah, let's just take that Band-Aid off right now, because life is not perfect. You're never going to go through the rest of your swimming career, let alone your life, without challenge, without adversity, without failure, and really embracing the idea that failure is okay. I mean, I think failure is a great thing if you learn from it. I think if you have your blinders on and you don't take advantage of the opportunity to learn from your failures, then that's a whole nother story. But really, we try and create opportunities for them to learn from failure and how to communicate better, how to prepare better, how to just sort of be flexible and adaptable and handle adversity. So yeah, that's kind of, we try and set that up in our routine every year. And oftentimes it's heavy in the fall.
I'm glad you mentioned flexibility, because as a follow-up, that's where I read that you were, if you had some swimmers who weren't doing well at a meet. I mean, there's some specific stories about Katie and Simone, where you had to change things up for them, so obviously you are flexible. And is that something that you think you are trying to teach your swimmers as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And oftentimes that comes back to trust. Right. I don't get to that place with someone like Katie or Simone without having built up trust in each other. And I think, at the end of the day, for all the athletes that we work with, Tracy Slusser, who's our associate head coach, who's phenomenal at what she does, for us, relationship building is really important. And communication is probably the cornerstone of our relationship building. And when you're in a good place and that things are going to be heard the right way. Sometimes what you say isn't necessarily what's received, but we try and work through that so that we can just kind of get to the point on things, and know that, if we need to say things, or we need to adjust, those athletes understand and trust us, and just the same, we understand and trust them. And it makes it a lot easier to make those changes in those moments, or to have those hard conversations.
So you're coaching two of the most exciting swimmers in the world right now, in Katie and Simone. So what is a day in the life of walking on that pool deck and coaching a distance swimmer and a sprinter at the same time? Yeah. And what is it like? Like, give us some stories. Is there a story or two that you can tell about these two great women?
Yeah, they're very fun to work with. I can tell you that. I mean, sometimes we have to pinch ourselves because we're here in this amazing place, and here we are having two gold medalists and incredibly strong women, and well beyond their successes in the pool, they're both tremendous people, and so they're fun to work with on a daily basis. And honestly, it's been really fun just to kind of see their relationship grow over the last few years. They swam together on the team collegiately, but then they both turned professional at the same time. And so, in the kind of that spring of 2018, for the last 2+ years, they have spent a lot of time together, and we've collectively had conversations with the three of us about what we're doing and the plan and all of this. And so watching their relationship grow, even though they do swim totally different events and they're fairly different personalities, they really trust and rely on each other, especially in those tough moments. And it's fun. It's a couple times a week, even though they're on different ends of the event spectrum. They'll meet in the middle, and we'll do some really good 200 work, and watching them kind of go at it in a competitive nature, but in a positive competitive environment is really fun as a coach. And so, it's been tremendous to watch their growth as young people, learning how to be a professional athlete, and just seeing them take ownership of what they do. They come in, and I think for all great athletes, one of the commonalities is they're willing to work hard. I don't know that I've ever seen two that will embrace the work that's required more than these two. It is amazing how hard they work and how consistent they are. And it allows them to take ownership in the results. It's not, if things don't go well, it's not her fault or his fault or, so-and-so's fault. They're going to say, okay, what can I do better? And as coaches, that's liberating, because it also allows us to internalize, like, okay, they weren't great in this event, or we weren't great in this little cycle. And I know it's not from them not working hard enough or not committing enough to details. And so that allows us to internalize, like, okay, where do we need to be better? And just whether it's a weekly plan or a race strategy or strength and conditioning. So that part's really fun, just to know that, we're all in.
Tell us about death by relay.
Oh yeah, well, we're probably going to do that this coming Saturday. We normally it's more than just two people, but we did it with just Katie and Simone. This was really well. It was fun for me as a coach. I don't think it was very fun for them, although they appreciated it afterwards. But we did in short course during the pandemic. We were in a short course 2-lane pool in a backyard. And they did a continuous 3,000, and we kind of had a time goal to hit. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was somewhere around 28 minutes and 15 seconds to do that 3,000. And Katie would go, and then Simone would go, and it was just like a constant relay. And Katie's swims were a little bit longer and would come shorter, and Simone's started out at kind of 200 and would go down to 50. But there's a point where I think Katie went a 400, Simone went a 200, Katie had to go a 200, Simone went a 50, and then Katie had to go back to a 300. So she had a 200 and a 300 with just a 50 for Simone in between. So you're getting 25 seconds rest. But it was really fun, and it was kind of one of those things like, all right, well, we're doing this. It's going to be really hard, but we're doing it together, and they crushed it, and it was really fun. So yeah, we're actually doing that this coming Saturday. we have more people now. We've got 9 people that are here, and we'll do a long course though. So it kind of takes on another,
Ooh,
another
pain,
component.
pain.
Yeah.
Did anybody get the average of the hundreds on that 3,000?
Well, yeah, essentially it's, oh my
So
God.
if it's a 28-minute 3,000, that's 53 or something. I don't know. It's pretty fast. Pretty fast. Well, so speaking of your workout group, what is that looking like right now with the pandemic? And are you guys one in a lane, twice a day, once a day? What is it looking like for your training group?
It's been mostly a normal schedule for the last, probably coming up on 8 weeks. It's not a full schedule. Using Katie as an example, she's normally 10 water touches a week, and she's at 9. So our weekly volume is down a little bit, but it has been really good work for what it's been. And we didn't want to press too hard too early with anybody. For all of them, whether their focus is hopefully the NCAA championships in March of 2021 or Olympic trials in June of 2021, that's still a long ways away, and pressing too hard too early is going to make the fall really drag on. So I feel as though we've managed that pretty well in trying to, do some work, but not feel completely overwhelmed. We go mostly long course. If you've ever been to our facility, you know that we're very fortunate in the amount of water that we have. We have 2 50-meter pools kind of stacked right on top of each other with an additional 25-meter pool. That's the one in my virtual background here. And so we're swimming 1 per lane. We've got a group of 9, and our long course pools are both 10 lanes. So it's perfect. We can all be in one pool right now with everyone with their own lane and long course. So it's been pretty good. We're going to get to a place here where we're going to kind of ramp things up a little bit more. But one of the interesting things about how the pandemic has really shut down our normal fall, our college kids aren't going to compete until January at the earliest. That's a Pac-12 rule. And our pros may not really be in a normal meet setting until that time as well. And so we need to make sure that we're not just grinding for 4 months without any sort of break. And so we're trying to create these little opportunities every 4 weeks or so to do some things differently here at home at Stanford, and throw on some tech suits, and whether it's a racing effort or a set or just death by relay this coming Saturday, just like different things that we can do to switch it up and not feel that they're just in a rut. That's our concern.
So there will be no collegiate training groups till January.
Well, we'll have the rest of our team is coming back in the next 3-4 weeks, but they won't be able to compete until January.
Okay, until January.
Yeah. So when everyone comes back, it's going to be we're trying to still figure out the matrix of lane spacing and how many, different workouts we need to run, but we'll figure all that part out. But the one thing that we can't, you can't duplicate is real racing. We can get up on the blocks and race each other, and that's great. But you can't duplicate having to go compete against somebody else. And that's not possible for our college team until January per the new Pac-12 legislation.
So as a 2021, who would have thought that would be the 2021 Olympic coach for the women, you're going into an unprecedented time. So trials, people may or may not be in as good a shape as they think they are. What are your thoughts on what this Olympic team might look like based on the different training regimens or lack thereof of all these swimmers out here trying to make this 21 team? Yeah,
that's a great question. I think the biggest difference is going to be the Olympic trials themselves. If there's no spectators, I think the event takes on a very different feel. And so I think that'll actually be the biggest impact. The part about whether people are prepared or not, the one thing that I am confident of in this country is the ability of our coaches and our best athletes be prepared regardless of the challenges that they may face. Our coaches are creative, our athletes are creative. Just following some of them, even on social media over the last few months, just, they've transformed their garage into a weight room, and they're swimming just on surgical tubing in a little, 4-foot basically hole. And so, you can figure it out, and it's not going to look normal or feel normal. But I don't think it's going to get in the way of Team USA performing really well at the trials to send our best possible team out to Tokyo next summer. And I feel really good about that. And I trust this group to be able to do that.
That's great. I would ask, and this is a question we always ask, is that one of the things that makes a champion? For almost a decade now, you've coached just some tremendous women swimmers. What characteristics do you see beyond just making do with your little tiny 4-foot pool and surgical tubing, under adversity? What characteristics do you see in these incredible women that you've had the opportunity to mentor and coach?
I think confidence, and you build confidence through what you do every day. And, you're just continuing to make your foundation stronger and stronger. And that's through work ethic. It's through commitment to details. It's through, being open to change. I mean, some of our very best athletes are the ones that are the most willing to make change, which can be scary. You do things well, you like how you do it. I would put myself in this bucket. Things that I do well, and this is how I do it.
Right.
But we try and empower them to like, hey, change is good, and you can make a change. And if they're confident, there isn't anything that they can't do.
How have you changed?
I think I've changed a little bit just with the sport has evolved. I think, in 20 years that 23 years maybe that I've been coaching in college, that it's evolved. And I used to be very driven by numbers of volume and just kind of work. I've softened that up. I think we're working as hard, if not harder than ever, but it looks and feels a little bit different. I'm a little less rigid in how I evaluate our training cycles. I think I've become a much better communicator. And I've become that because of the people that I'm surrounded by, here at home with my wife, but with Tracy, with our athletes, like just, learning how to be a better communicator and trying to not be reactionary. I'm sort of, I can definitely, go down that path. And so I try and avoid that before speaking. So those are just some little ways that I think I've evolved and, but really stayed true to who I am at my core. And that's to do really good work, and to give confidence to these young women or young men that I've coached over the years to believe in themselves.
What do you think confidence is something that can be developed in an athlete? Or do you think it's an innate quality?
We talk about this all the time.
Yeah, no, I think it's easier if it's innate, but I do think that you can develop confidence over time. I do believe that's a slow process, but it is just like things can chip away at your confidence. You can also continue to put things in your back pocket that are just going to, build confidence, things that you can reference. And we talk about that with our team. We do a really hard set, or we go through a really hard cycle of things that we're doing. And it's like, remember this, when you're behind the blocks in March or June or August, like think back to these moments and remember the effort that you put in. Because it's difficult in a time-centric sport, right? We are constantly evaluated by the clock, and that can be harmful at times. And so, finding ways to build confidence without having to have your best practice of your life every day. Tracy and I joke all the time about Maya Dorado. She was the queen of like remembering things almost better than they really were. And it was kind of her.
My husband does that too.
Yeah, we'd do a workout and we'd be like, that was okay, and You know, but
Like, that was amazing.
You're like, oh, it was great. Yeah, I did this, this, and this, and what a blessing, right? What a blessing to have that. So I think it's a little bit of both.
So you build confidence based on these hard things that you've done. You remember the hard things that you've done. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Kelly.
So let's flash back to when you first started coaching, Greg. If someone had told you, 20 years from now, you are going to reach the pinnacle of the sport and be the head Olympic swimming coach, take us on that journey from maybe not having that vision, or did you have the vision? What was your path? Like, just carry us a little bit through your coaching career and maybe what your biggest obstacle was, but how did you get here, Greg?
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting path. I was not an elite athlete as a kid. I was a decent swimmer, but wasn't certainly a great swimmer, nowhere near the level of these kids. But I just loved the sport, and I loved the coaches that I worked with. My club coach, Charlie Kennedy at Suburban in Philadelphia, and then Rich Coppola, who was my coach at Rider University, and Steve Fletcher and Shannon Daly, who are now coaching at Rider. They made my experience very rewarding, and I wanted to kind of give back. And I knew I always wanted to coach and teach, but I thought it would be more in the high school arena. But when I got into like my second or third year in college, I knew I want to coach in college. This is sort of the world that I want to live in. And as you know, like, life is all about people and the people you interact with, and the how they impact your life in those particular moments. And was really fortunate to get a job at Princeton my second year of coaching. And I had no business thinking that I could get to this spot, but I always felt like I wanted to win a national championship. I don't even know what that means at the time, right?
It sounds really good, though.
Yeah, it does sound really good. And, Susan Teeter, who was my boss at Princeton, I was the assistant women's coach there for 2 years. I mean, she's just a rock star. And she taught me a lot about being a professional and how to be a young man coaching women. And a lot of just sort of the professional side of the sport. And she was the manager on the both 96 and 2000. But in 2000, that was when I was coaching with her. She was the manager of the Olympic team, and had her Olympic ring. And I just set my goal that I wanted to get 2 rings in my life. One was an Olympic ring, and one was a national championship ring. And, just kind of put that out on my path. And I got connected with John Urbanchek, and then got the job at UCLA and worked with Cindy, and she was amazing. And I would say the hardest years were when I first became a head coach at Pacific. So University of Pacific is in Stockton, California, Northern California. And it was just myself and one other coach for men's and women's team, and just trying to kind of rebuild. And those years were really hard, but I learned a ton from that experience. And then I went back to being an assistant because I felt like, all right, this is going to be my pathway. And I got to Berkeley and worked with Dave, and it was an incredible experience. I probably would have stayed a lot longer had the opportunity here at Stanford not opened up. And even when we got to Stanford, it still probably seemed pretty far away. They hadn't won a national championship since 1998. And, we're kind of coming off a little bit of a downturn in terms of Olympic performance. And so, we just kind of put our head down and went to work, and 4 years later had an incredible experience in Rio, and then subsequently have just really continued that success, both at the collegiate level, but also at the international level. And it's been really fun. But it's about the people that, you surround yourself with, that come into your life, that make you better, and you hope that you reciprocate that. So it's been a really fun journey, and I'm super happy here. I really don't anticipate coaching anywhere else other than this place, and we love it here as a family, and so just so blessed and fortunate, and realize that that there aren't many places like this, and this is kind of the pinnacle of women's college swimming, and we're going to work hard to hold on to this.
Did you choose to coach women, or is that just the way your career path went? And what do you love about coaching women?
Yeah, it's different than coaching men, that's for sure.
I've heard that.
The very first job I had was at William & Mary, and that was men's and women's, and I was assistant coach. And at the end of that year, I made $8,000 that year. It's like, I need to, find a job that I can actually make some money. So then I made 10 at Princeton. I thought I was,
oh boy.
And I just was fortunate. I kind of applied to a bunch of things, and Susan Teeter picked up the phone and called me, and I answered. And this was, before cell phones were popular. And I just happened to be in my office and picked up the phone, and she just started hammering me with questions, and knew that I was like, all right, this is awesome, and it's close to home and all this stuff. But the relationship I think that we build with these women is really meaningful. It's meaningful for me as a coach, for sure. And just the way we can kind of go about some things through the process of getting from point A to point B to success. It's not a complete 180 from the mindset of going through that process with a men's swimmer, but it is just a different deal. And I feel like I've found my niche with that. And
can you be specific about how it's different?
I think the communication is different. I do think that, I'm really mindful of what I say and how I say it, and making sure that the message that's received is the message that's intended, because I think that's going to be, filtered and evaluated and
for women more than for men.
Yeah, for women more than men, because I do think they has come out. They are gonna, like, what I say really matters to them. And so if I don't say it the right way, it's gonna be negatively impactful. Where guys, at the time, and maybe this has changed too, it's been 8 years since I've coached men, but you could be a little more direct in the moment. And not that I don't sort of beat around the bush, but I am thoughtful about what I'm saying, and hoping that, the message is heard. Like sometimes with guys, it's the anger that's heard. And here with women, it's the message needs to be heard. And I'm not any softer on that. It just is, I've got to make sure how I say it is just on point.
I find it just so inspiring that there are very few Division I women head coaches, and yet you've had two of them be your mentors or help you along your path, and Cindy Gallagher at UCLA and Susan Teeter at Princeton. So that's kind of cool. Let me ask you. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think it is great. And unfortunately, we're not keeping enough women in the profession. And, one of the things that I feel strongly about is head coaches creating an environment for their assistant coaches, men or women, because, the new normal, right, is men are also staying home more and helping raise families, and head coaches creating an environment for their assistant coaches that's a healthy environment. It's not balance, right? People talk about work-life balance. That's not necessarily realistic, but work-life harmony. How can we create an environment where it's okay for a coach not to be on deck and to not feel guilty about it, right? I think as young coaches, you feel tremendous guilt when you're not there. And being as head coaches, not contributing to that guilt that they're already going to feel, and creating an environment where you're empowering your assistant coaches to do the things that they need to do. And hey, we're gonna get it done. So I have been fortunate, and we've been fortunate that ironically the woman that replaced Cindy Gallagher at UCLA, Jordan Wolfram, she was our volunteer coach here in 2013,
nice.
2014. And
that's wonderful.
It's cool, right? That feels good about it. We've had quite a few of our volunteers that have gone on to get coaching positions. And so, we'll hopefully just continue to help create those opportunities.
So you see that as part of your job, is helping your assistant volunteers in their career. So how does coaching impact your family? I know you've got two youngest children.
Yeah, they're now both teenagers, 15 and 13. And it's hard on them. I think it's hard on my wife. Just, they're probably tired of me now because I've been home for months.
Go back to work, Dad.
Yeah. I think the hardest part is the travel. as best I can, and I'm not perfect in this sense, but as best I can, I try not to bring too much home with me, emotionally. I don't spend a lot of time actually doing work when I get home, but there are times when it's difficult to kind of step away from the emotion of how much we put into our jobs. So I just am so impressed with how they have allowed me to pursue this without the guilt of being away. And so, I'm super appreciative. They're amazing, and they do travel a bit, which is helpful. They always go to the NCAA championships. They went to the Olympic trials in 2016. They were going to go in this summer. They were going to go to Tokyo. Remains to be seen what that'll look like for them next summer. But it's helpful to have some of that. So,
I love the saying a work-life harmony and not necessarily work-life balance, because balance is meaning even.
Right.
Greg, what has been your biggest obstacle in your life?
Well, gee, that's kind of a that's a tough question. Biggest obstacle in my life?
Or one of them.
Yeah, one of them was I think early on when I moved to UCLA. It was just being away from family. That was hard, especially in a coach's schedule. It's difficult to find time to go back and visit. So we really embrace those opportunities when we have them, because family is big for us. I'm one of 5. My wife is one of 11. So we're both from pretty big families, and her family is LA and then generally spread all over the place. And mine is still all out in Philadelphia. My dad is now in Florida. So just, kind of managing that. And my mom got sick about 5 years ago or 7 years ago, and passed about 5 years ago. And not being there all the time was hard. So, those are the things that you have to you got to roll with it. And so I would, leave and fly east and be gone for 3 days from the team. So it's fine. That's why I have somebody who's as good as she is, and Tracy, and not worrying about her working with the group. She's got it. I'm gone, and I'll be back in a couple days. So
that's beautiful. That's an example of work-life balance. Or I mean, not balance, harmony.
Yeah.
That's
At
a better
the beginning,
word.
you talked about how, you teach your athletes to fail. Do you feel like you've ever really had a failure that has defined you or built you?
I think there are moments. I don't think necessarily sort of huge life failures. Fortunately, knock on wood. Right. But I definitely in coaching, just realizing that, hey, there's some things that I could have done better here and here and here. And we really do a good job of okay, I'm gonna self-reflect at the end of each little cycle of our season, and be self-critical and what do I need to do better? And so I'm always feeling like I'm failing from that regard, just in little ways to make improvements on.
Do you have your swimmers do that as well? The self-reflection kind
of? Yeah, absolutely. I would say theirs is more end of year, where ours is a little bit more kind of within. And that way we can help them make some changes and then really kind of do the full deal at the end of a year. But we tend to meet with them pretty frequently, so we're constantly talking about things.
That's great.
What routines or rituals do you personally practice that you think have made you successful?
Well, I start my day with coffee. That's definitely I'm very
that's great.
Actually, I live on campus, so we're very blessed to have the opportunity to live here on Stanford's campus, and we're at the corner end of campus, and literally across the street is a Starbucks. So I walk over to Starbucks, I get my Starbucks, I walk back to the house. Well, actually I get Starbucks for my wife and I. Walk back to the house, drop her Starbucks off, and then I get in a golf cart. And one of my favorite things to do is I drive my golf cart to the pool for work for the day. My Dorado bought me a golf cart as a thank you after the 2016 Olympic Games.
Oh, that's
nice.
Still probably the coolest gift ever.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's great.
Yeah. So, I just even little things like that. I really enjoy golf. And so I've been trying to play more golf, especially during the pandemic, when there aren't a whole lot of things that you can do, but golf is one of them. And that's now become a little bit of a family thing as well. So that's been helpful. So just trying to find the little things that you really enjoy. I'm just a huge sports fan. So, a lot of the weekends we'll spend watching collegiate events or professional events. Even like I love watching golf on TV. I know some people can't do it. For me, it's like,
I love it. It's so relaxing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
The quiet voices of the announcers.
So it's, those things are what really help me kind of get through the day and get through the week.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, in respecting your time, we want to get you out of here straight up on the hour. Before we go to what we call a sprint round, which is some fun questions. But before we do that, is there anything that we have not asked you that you'd like to share with us?
No, this has been awesome.
Okay.
Great.
Well, wonderful. All right, then let's.
I mean, you can't tease the sprint round and then ask if I've got other stuff.
He's doing his push-ups to get ready for the sprint round.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Will you be as fast as Jason Lezak? That's the question.
No, not a chance.
Okay. All right. So we just quickly ask you, we're looking for a super short answer. Cat or dog?
Dog. Although it's not short answer, but I am allergic to both. But
my gosh. Okay.
You need a doodle.
All right.
Yeah.
Red or blue?
Red.
Milk chocolate or dark chocolate?
Dark chocolate.
Kickboard or no kickboard?
Okay, so I'm going to have to qualify my answer a little bit. As a coach, I like them to kick on a kickboard. As an athlete, I hated kicking on the kickboard. So I don't take that for what it is.
I like it. Mountains or beach?
Beach.
Football or baseball?
Baseball.
That was a hard one.
I love it. Very thoughtful.
I love, my son plays baseball, and one of the things I love more than anything is watching him play. I am also a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. I went to the Super Bowl to watch them in 2018.
Nice.
So it's a tough one.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
I think we know the answer to this next question. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
Okay, this is going to be a little sexist, Greg, but we're women and we get to ask it. So we got to know you deeper. Boxers or briefs? Or boxer briefs?
Boxer briefs.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Maria.
I get the next few. Favorite color?
Red.
Good answer. Favorite pizza topping?
Ooh, anchovies.
Ooh,
I love it.
My favorite answer ever.
Yeah.
Yes.
You could be in our family because Maria and I are sisters-in-law. I don't know if you know that, but
I did not know that.
Yeah, we're in the same family.
Yeah.
Anchovies.
We will order pizza and then get a little can and put the anchovies on the pizza.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, favorite vegetable?
Asparagus if it's done properly.
Okay, not overcooked, I take it. Well, I'm not going to ask you your favorite swim complex. So do you listen to music before you work out or swim, or is there a...
Yeah, I'm a big Spotify fan. We play music during practice. I think that's been one of the things that's kind of kept the environment light at times.
Nice.
We have a sort of a rolling schedule through the week, and try and give everybody a little bit of what they like. And so each day generally has a theme, but I do enjoy listening to music while I'm working out as well.
What would your theme be?
Yeah, what was your song or theme? Yeah, what pops to mind?
I'm a bit of an old soul, so if you're sort of early Motown, kind of going then backwards to sort of Rat Pack and kind of in that sort of like early 50s till sort of early part of Motown. Although I do love all music, honestly, I have a pretty eclectic music taste. But if my default is going to be Sam Cooke or Nina Simone or Bobby Darin or Ella Fitzgerald. Like, just that's kind of my world that I live in.
I love
Do your athletes indulge you on that? Do they
Yeah.
let you have a turn?
Have some
We
crooning.
have every Wednesday during the college year, we have music education class on Wednesday afternoon.
That's great.
That's our recovery day and light aerobic day, and so I'll either play an artist or a genre that they may not be as familiar with, and yeah, we've had some good ones. We did Ray Charles. We did Aretha Franklin. Of course, they know who Aretha Franklin is.
Right.
But like just getting into, hey, these are more of her songs that you may not be familiar with.
That's great.
Or we'll do like, 90s hip hop or whatever that may look like. So yeah, we have.
I want to swim for you.
Yeah, I want to. Well, I want to be there on Wednesdays and watch and listen. Okay, we know you have siblings. You said come from a family of 5 brothers or sisters.
3 boys, 2 girls.
Wonderful. Favorite Star
Where
Wars
do you fit
character?
in the 5?
Oh, sorry, Kelly.
I'm the
Sorry.
last. I'm the baby.
Oh, you're the baby. Okay.
Baby. Oh, well, that explains the communication skills.
That explains. Yeah.
Favorite Star Wars character?
Han Solo.
Okay.
Nice.
Do you cook? Can you cook?
Yes, I do. I really enjoy cooking. My wife is more of the baker, so but she's also, like, through a pandemic, she has really mastered homemade pasta.
Wow.
So she'll make homemade pasta, and then I'll make meatballs and pepperoni and gravy. That's sort of family recipe. But I generally cook every night. My wife doesn't cook as much. She does more of the baking and the doughs. So it's fun. We really enjoy it. I don't think we ordered food. I think we went 2 full months without, like, at the beginning of pandemic, we just kind of shut it down and we cooked every day. And now we've softened that up a little bit, but we'll only order out once, hardly ever twice a week, but usually once a week.
Yeah, forget Wednesdays.
Very
I want to
nice.
eat dinner with you guys. That sounds great.
Okay.
Okay,
Very
so
good.
we asked this question of the swimmers, but I'd like to sort of turn it around. We ask what word comes to most come to mind when you dive into the water. What word would you like your swimmers to have in their minds as they're diving into the water for a big event?
Let's do this.
Yeah, I like
Let's
it.
do it. I love it. I love it. Well, Coach, it has been such a pleasure. I can
Really
see why
has.
your teams are so successful, and we wish you all the best in the rest of this crazy 2020, and then hoping 2021 is a great year and that the Olympic team is our most successful team ever. That's what I'm hoping for.
We'll
So,
be watching
yeah.
you. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time. It's been wonderful.
really
You're
appreciate it.
welcome. Thanks, Maria.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly. It's been
Alrighty.
fun.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Takeaways, takeaways, takeaways. We've heard from you that your favorite section of our podcast is the takeaways. Thank you so much for that feedback. But before we get to the takeaways today, we wanted to ask you if you would please give us a 5-star review. That way, more people will be able to find our podcast. Also, if you could subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify, you'll never miss a podcast episode if you subscribe. And please share our podcast with your friends. And now, the takeaways.
All right. Well, Maria, what an exciting interview with the 2021 Olympic coach, Greg Meehan. I mean, that was fantastic.
I can see why he brings the best out in his swimmers, and I think I'd follow him anywhere.
Yes, they're as they say, success leaves clues.
Yeah,
So,
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your first takeaway?
Oh, well, I loved his emphasis on communication. He's so obviously so intentional. He's mostly coaching women for the last 8 years, and we talked about that, and the point he made was that he wanted to make sure that what he wanted to convey was being heard. And I think that's just beautiful, because so often we throw things around, throw ideas around, and we accuse other people of misunderstanding us or not hearing us. But really, it's our responsibility as communicators to to make sure that what the idea that we want to convey is being accepted. And I'm going to take this home to my own marriage, because lots of times I say things to Jim and then I get mad later if he misunderstands or doesn't, and it's really my responsibility as the communicator to make sure that I'm conveying what I want to convey and that he's hearing what I want. So I really loved that. Clearly he's learned that and he's intentional about it, and it probably makes him a great husband and coach.
Yes, I think that's huge when you're on deck, he said coaching men, he might be angry, or, you might be a little bit more emotional, but I think that part of conveying the message that people hear is not making it too emotional, or not making it come across as harsh.
Right.
So I love that. I think that's a great takeaway. So I think, the question that I asked him, which is kind of like the secret sauce question that I was getting at, you asked this question, but it's one of my favorites. What commonality do champions have? And he just didn't even hesitate. Confidence.
Yeah.
And that is so huge for all of us. Just that when you have confidence going into a situation, it just makes it so much more likely that you're going to succeed at that task, whether it's swimming or anything that you're doing. So then I followed up with the question of, can you develop that? He said, well, it's great if they come in, and they have it intrinsically, but he said it can be developed slowly with adjusting to change, doing things that you think are hard, and then you complete them, and then you gain the confidence.
Right.
So I think you and we've talked to some of a really high level coaches that say it's just really hard to develop confidence, but many coaches say you can develop it. And I think you and I believe that you can, because you're a perfect example, Maria, of developing your confidence as an athlete. And so I loved that he, pegged that as something that can be developed, and that's so important.
Yeah. And part of it is just remembering what you did. We've talked about that before, but he made, a big point of that. It's remembering, you got all the stuff in your back pocket. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
My second takeaway was his beautiful discussion of work-life harmony. We talk often about how hard and difficult coaching is. There are ways, traveling, so on and so forth. But, and we have this idea of like, there's got to be balance, but there is no true balance. But living a life, harmony is a great word, because it's being peaceful with the choices that you're making, and making choices that make you peaceful. And so, he talked about being away to visit his family and not having to feel like he had to be on deck all the time, and hoping that, more people will get into coaching if they can, bring this concept to coaching. And it's not just that you have to give your life to it. And he talked about music education Wednesdays, which, it's not really a work-life harmony thing, but in a sense it is. He loves music. And so he brings this aspect of his personality and what he loves to his life and to his work. And, and it's got to make him happy, so he's creating this harmony in his own life, with the way he coaches. So I think that's a great take home. I can feel pulled in a million directions, but I often remind myself that I'm doing what I want to do, and like I'm enjoying this right now, and so I have harmony, even if, I feel a little squished sometimes. I think I have good harmony because I know what my priorities are, and I'm doing what I wanted to be doing.
Yes, I like the tweak on the words there, work-life harmony versus
Right.
work-life balance,
Right.
because
Right.
truly there's probably never going to be a balance especially if you're an Olympic swim coach.
Right.
Now, I know repetition is the mother of learning, but when
Right.
we hear great advice, I think it can always be reiterated. And I need this one. And I know we talked about not choosing this as one of the takeaways, but I'm going to bring it because it was the top of the interview. I asked him, what can we do to get through this pandemic? And we've heard it from a lot of other great champions, but it's one day at a time.
Right.
And I think that is something that I need to be reminded of. And it was his advice to everyone out there, whether, you're postponing your wedding, you're postponing your NCAAs, you're postponing your Olympic trials, that just take it one day at a time. In fact, recently we interviewed Colin Jones, who said the same thing. That's how he gets through, one day at a time. And I think it's such sage advice that I can hear it. I can hear it every single time. So,
well, I completely agree with you. And, and I would add that the harder times you're in, the more true that bit of advice is, because if you're really overwhelmed, all you have to do is the next, right thing. And, like he said, control what you can control. The rest you got to let go. And if sometimes that just means, for instance, in times of my life when I've been really overwhelmed or even depressed, sometimes it's just getting out of bed and making the bed. That's what I can control. That's what I can do. That's the next right thing. That's a small step. So anybody out there who is struggling during this, well, we all struggle, but, that's just do one small thing. That's the right thing, and break, and then do the next right thing.
Yes, Maria, that just the way you said that reminds me. I remember the day I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was just flipped out, obviously. And I called my friend, Arlene, who had been through breast cancer, fellow swimmer. And she just said, Kelly, don't worry about, a week from now, don't worry about the surgery. Just what's next? She said, what is next? I said, okay, it's the MRI. She said, well, then let's just get through that. And then let's get through the next thing. And
yeah.
So I can hear it a lot. So great point. Great interview.
Yes.
Unbelievable wise stuff and fun stuff at the end with his sprinter round. And It's really going to be fun to watch the Olympic team next year under Greg.
Yeah, it sure is. And I love the interview. And I love seeing you, Kelly, as always. Love you.
Me too. Love you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Champions Mojo podcast with host Kelly Palace and Maria Parker. Champions Mojo is produced by Cabra Media, and a new episode debuts every Tuesday. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. Follow Champions Mojo on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook @Champions Mojo.